Today I will show you how to do this very cool base work flip move. It's basically like a straddle with a shoulder mount flip over. So first I will demonstrate and then I'll give you some tips and tricks. Okay, so I highly recommend to wear knee pads and boots. Get all geared up. The boots will help to protect your toes and help your feet slide under you, and the knee pads will be there to protect your knees. So first I would recommend to do a little bit of stretching. A good easy one to do, and take your shoes off, you can just do this in warm up, would be to do some of these reaches forward to stretch out those hamstrings and get your compression going, reaching back. That's helpful. Or you can just spend some time on the pole with your booty towards the pole and just practicing doing this compression and stretching, and make sure you can touch the ground. That should be a prerequisite to make sure that you have the flexibility. Another tip, you can grab some blocks. This does require a lot of hamstring flexibility, not in an extreme amount, but a good base level of hamstring flexibility. So another stretch you can do is to put your feet, it's kind of silly that I'm wearing my boots, but we'll go with it. You get the idea. You can do this little stretch, so just mimicking the movement that we're doing on the pole. We have a closed straddle and then stretching forward. Definitely use the blocks because you'll get a little deeper hamstring stretch, and it mimics the movement a little bit more closely for what's on the pole. So you can try and do some pulsing like this, just like that. And then just do a standard pole warm-up that you might normally do before class or before you train. So that just gives you a few additional ways to get this move all warmed up. Now I'll talk you through the rest of it. So you start with your booty towards the pole. I like to do not right in the center where my tailbone is or where my spine is, but just a little off to the side so that my booty cheek meat is on the pole for just a little more grip. And it does help to wear some kind of more cheeky shorts where you have skin on the pole, because it just gives you a little additional security. So I would recommend booty skin on the pole, not cloth or fabric, but skin. Next, I slightly rotate my legs inward because it helps me stabilize and balance my legs. So I slightly rotate them inward. You don't have to, this is not a must. It just may give you a little bit additional support and stability as you start to lower yourself down. As you lower, feel free to take one hand behind the pole for balance and support, and then maybe the other hand, I like to either do a head roll and then bring it down, or just trace it down like so. And then once you're here, so you have this other hand for support. You don't always need that other hand behind you. You can, if you have enough balance, you can, it's a little trickier, you can use no hands. I always put a hand there, especially when in heels. You don't want to be falling and wobbling. And plus then you can do additional things with your hands and your head, some head rolls, and bring it down. So then that hand is still there. Next, you'll bring both hands in a cup grip, just like a shoulder mount, in between your legs, pretty high, quite high. My legs are wider than hip width apart. And then here's the part where you just have to go for it. Have a little faith in yourself and just go for it. So I pull myself in towards the pole, pick a side. So pick your side that you normally would shoulder mount onto. So I'll pick my right shoulder and commit to it and just go for it. You can slide the legs a little out or a little more back if you want to, but as exactly the moment as you put your shoulder on, look to the ceiling. And then the legs come up, and then lift the hips, tuck under, and finish your kip. So to make it look much nicer, it's important to give a little lift of the hips and then tuck under. I was doing that in a little more slow motion so that you could get an idea of what I'm doing. But ideally, you'll make this a little faster and smooth it out. So Another tip when you're trying to lift those hips up is it's mostly from your abdominals. So I'll show you right here. So it's a little bit of just like what we do with our shoulder mount, it's this movement. So we're using our low abs, transverse abs, to lift the legs, pull the hips up in order to then fold the legs under us. So that's a little trick, little tip, and I'll show you again. Oh, by the way, yes, this pole is on static. I guess you could do it on spin. It would just be a little more tricky. And you can see I'm already starting to get a little out of breath. This is quite a demanding move. It looks very easy because it's done pretty quickly, and so it looks quite easy to a lot of people. But don't be fooled by this. This is a very tricky, pretty demanding move as we're using our entire body. Okay, so I'll show you again. So a little to the side on that skin of the booty, hold behind, trace it down, fold deeply forward. Cup grip, my cup grip goes above the knees. I hope you can kind of see here. It goes pretty high, and I rest my forearms a little bit into my thighs. And then as I start to bring my head in, I just fold, lift, come over, and then you can finish it by sliding out like that. That's how I like to do it anyways. So that's one of my favorite kip moves or base work moves around the pole, and I get a lot of requests to teach this one. Everybody wants to know how to do it. Where most people get stuck is that moment when you have to put your your trap there on the pole. So everybody gets so stuck, like right here. They just don't want to go for it. Just try and pull a little bit harder into the pole. If you have to, you can spread your legs out just a little wider. However, I don't recommend doing that because you'll lose your height. You don't want to lose your height or it will be difficult to do the flip. So watch, you can slide them out like maybe an inch, but try to keep your legs pretty close to where you started. And focus on your pull with your cup grip, your pull of your hands so you can pull and compress your body forward. So this does take both active and passive flexibility in your compression and in your hamstring flexibility. So if you don't have good active flexibility, you'll just have to pull harder to get into that passive range of motion. So that's what a lot of people aren't doing. They're just not pulling themselves hard enough to compress their body enough. I'll show you again. To compress enough into the pull. So here, what I mean is you're all set up, pull hard, full, and then squeeze your abdominals to pull your chest forward. I'm using a ton of abdominal work in this move, and then pulling with the arms, and even start to look up towards the ceiling. So that can be your spotting point. As you pull in, start to look up to the ceiling, and then you can make it really fast, like that. That wasn't even as fast as I normally do it, but you get the idea. So yeah, that's another good tip is as you fold in, start to look up to the ceiling and it will make you more comfortable. I highly recommend to warm this move up. It takes a couple times to start to get it smoother. Even if you're very familiar with this, and let's say you're putting it in a routine or a performance, before you do that performance or routine, it would be nice if you can warm that up, or at least warm up your compression of your body, your fold is what I mean. Another good little drill you can do that might help you with your active flexibility for this would be this one where you do straddle legs and then you practice pulsing them toward your body. This is an excellent one for pole dancers because it works your abdominal strength and that active flexibility with your hamstrings. So I hope that helps you with your little base work flip, and let me know how it goes.